Great, yeah,
Exactly.
okay, the bar is high. The bar is high, Philip.
Gee, God, you've done it again. You've done it.
We don't want Europe to be. We don't want,
Because that's a good job you don't ring me every day, Phil. People would be agitating for you to take over.
Now, is this amazing LBC caller right about the shameless Tory Party? Now, James O'Brien wanted to know which direction the Tories should go back. To the centre ground, or maybe keep chasing the mouth-frothing, knuckle-dragging reform loons. Well, this caller basically schooled James O'Brien on this.
Hi, James. Good to speak to you again.
Likewise.
Deputy PM, yeah?
Oh, that's so, God, that was a while ago, wasn't it? Great, yeah,
Exactly.
okay, the bar is high. The bar is high, Philip.
Well, yeah, and Gary Lineker obviously is the Foreign Secretary. That's not happened now, has it? So anyway, we'll get by. So when I spoke to you during a few times, but obviously during the Brexit, and what I said about the Tory Party at the time was Europe was the biggest issue in the Tory Party.
Yeah.
And what's happened, the current iteration of this Tory Party now has meant, obviously, the whole Brexit thing has meant a cult of
Gee, God, you've done it again. You've done it again. I mean, it is as if the stuffing has been removed from the toy, isn't it? They've been so obsessed with Europe for so long. Every administration defined by it, up to and including Boris Johnson's.
Exactly.
So there's an element of not knowing what to do with themselves now that sort of
100%.
beast is dead for a generation or two.
Exactly that. And what I also said was, obviously, it's a virus. It was a virus which obviously was inflicted then on the rest of the country, because, before that, yes, we've seen the headlines in the press of the anti-Europe things, but I think generally people were just getting on with it. But it was becoming a bigger issue in the Tory party, which was leading them to the right, because obviously Nigel Farage's party, whether it was UKIP, whether it was the Brexit party or the current iteration now as Reform, that was who they were trying to pander to.
Of course.
So now what we're seeing is obviously after the disaster that Brexit is, obviously, but the fact that we're out of Europe now.
It's a dead rubber. I mean, there's no debate about a disaster. No Tory leader is going to stand up and pursue power on a ticket promising to go back into the European Union. So, not for a while anyway, although it's probably inevitable. So what do they do? And they don't know, do they? So Farage has gone full, he got his Brexit win. He promised he'd leave the country if it was a failure. He's called it a failure and he's still here. So he will just continue to be economical with the actuality and demonise foreigners. And that is the new threat to the Tories. And you can see it playing out in the same way. Jenrick is on board with that. There's a piece in the Times today suggesting that that's what he's doing. He's becoming a Nigel Farage tribute act. Cleverly is perceived very much as going in the opposite direction, as is Tom Tugendhat. But it's the same sort of battle over the soul of the party. Do we become nativist snarlers, or do we try to be a bit more honest and sensible?
I think, unfortunately, where we are at this moment in time, which is obviously what we're talking about now, is they can't go to the centre because they don't have the the people within it, even within the Tory membership, as we've seen with who have been electing as the leaders. They don't want that. They are more towards the more extreme right of the Tory party wing.
The electorate, and they chucked out, and in terms of personnel, they chucked out all the people who might be able to deliver what you're describing in 2019.
So I think, unfortunately, and I say this, with a heavy heart, but unfortunately, I think if the Tories are going to have any success, it's not going to be in the centre because they don't believe in that. That's not their ideology right now. Right. And I think the success is going to be where unfortunately, bringing that the right wing where Nigel Farage is bringing that into the mainstream, which we've seen, for example, across Europe, where we've seen the success of particular right-wing parties, unfortunately, as we see in America potentially with Donald Trump potentially getting into power. That, bringing that into the mainstream is a scary thought, and it's something which the Tories have been moving into further and further, and we can see it in the language and the way that they've been, the culture wars and everything that's been going on.
It's the racist liars. If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, 100%. And unfortunately, people. As we know, you speak to so many people, but as we know, people just don't use logic, unfortunately, and they'll want to scapegoat as many, that's why immigration always works, regardless of its truth,
as a topic, as a wedge issue. Because Haitians, people want to believe that Haitians eat dogs and cats, and people want to believe that people who look a bit different from them are not to be trusted. It's somehow a comforting bigotry. Was it inevitable then? I mean, because what you've described rather brilliantly is the relatively swift transformation of anti-EU sentiment into anti-foreigner, sentiment or anti-immigrant sentiment. And obviously Brexit was built largely on anti-immigrant sentiment. A lot of that was dressed up as anti-EU sentiment. It's why people ended up getting into so much intellectual trouble when they were trying to give actual substantive reasons for leaving and didn't want to say out loud, I don't like foreigners, there's too many Polish people or there's too many Germans. Was it inevitable that the pro-Brexit sentiment would almost sort of drop its trousers and reveal that it was anti-immigrant all along? And that's where the Tory party is now. Or could it have gone differently? Could it have gone any differently?
I think it would have gone differently if that cull hadn't happened within the party.
Yeah.
So as soon as, the Ken Clarks of this world and, all those were culled from the party, I think that was the start of the demise, but that was a problem, right? Because there was always that internal battle of those who were, a bit more rational and logical and sensible, I like to say, versus those who were, the rabid rights people saying, we don't want Europe to be, we don't want,
Because that's not a Venn diagram. That's not a Venn diagram. That's a circle. The people who are rabidly anti-immigrant were the same people who were rabidly anti-EU.
Exactly that. And so that's why I'm saying the current iteration of this party right now, the current vehicle that's operating, is not the same Tory party as we know it. And so because of that, I can't see how they can move back into a place where the Lib Dems are sitting and where Labour's sitting.
Because the vehicle that they're driving is not the vehicle that we would have been talking about even 6 years ago.
Exactly, it's changed.
God, you're good at this, aren't you? It's a good job you don't ring me every day, Phil. People would be agitating for you to take over.
I'll still keep you as PM.
That's very well. I don't know about that. I feel like a lame duck. Top man.
Well, what do you guys think? I think he's absolutely right about the European Union situation. It always seemed to be that they were the ones to blame for their own inadequacies, didn't they? Whenever they fucked up, blame the EU instead of taking responsibility for their own mess-ups. And I also think that for the first time in a long time, there is actually now a new party who their batshit membership will find attractive now. And I also get the feeling that the Tory membership is getting more and more bonkers every day, because if you actually voted for Lettuce Liz Truss to be your leader, you must be off your chomp in the first place. And also, with only 19 letters needed to start a confidence vote as well, I get the feeling Phil is bang on the money. And maybe he should have his own show. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below, and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.